Hello, I'm Kate from What Mortgage, and today we're interviewing Sarah Tinkler from Clever Mortgages about specialist mortgages. Hello Sarah, welcome.
Hi Kate, thanks for having me.
Yeah, we are going to talk about specialist mortgages, but first of all I just wanted to ask you a little bit about what you do, because you're a mortgage broker.
So I go out for clients and help source the best possible option for them around their personal circumstances. So I've got access to many lenders across the market. We research, we've got good relationships with lenders to help place clients with them to get them the best possible outcome.
Okay, and what is a specialist mortgage? How does it differ from a standard mortgage, whatever that is?
Well, that's a good question. What is a standard mortgage these days? I think specialist is quite a big range. So it ranges from things like second charges, bridging loans, all the way through to adverse credit, people that are self-employed, that might not have your standard income criterias. Anything like that now can be specialist. Low credit scores. There might be somebody that does work for a normal job, you know, has normal income as such, or employed income, but it might be that they have low credit because they've never had any credit facilities in the past. So that can come and slip into the specialist sector as well. And it's just something that's maybe outside of the norm, if there is a norm now, because obviously everybody's got individual circumstances.
Yeah, sure. So is the mortgage specialist or is the customer specialist?
A bit of both, really.
Okay.
A bit of both. So it's more about the customer will obviously have their special circumstances, and then it's about the lender, and at different lenders will accommodate different things. So or will offer different aspects of mortgages. So it's a combination of both, really.
Okay, so say for example you were self-employed and you were a little bit worried about whether or not you were going to take out a mortgage. I mean, we get a lot of people who are in that situation actually who write into us. What would you do first of all? Would you just find a lender that was a specialist lender? How would you sort of start the process?
So having a conversation with the client is the most important thing, getting to understand their circumstances. You know, they're self-employed, but how are they paid? Are they, for instance, a CIS contract worker? Are they a sole trader? Are they a limited company? All of those sorts of things will have an impact on the outcome for that client. So the very starting point is just making sure we get to know that client and getting to understand them and their individual circumstances.
Okay, so they'd come to a broker and you would presumably then you would have kind of the information and the facts to find the right lender for their particular needs, would you?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So if you've got a lender, for instance, a client, for instance, sorry, that is self-employed, that has, you know, a limited company, and they take a salary from it, and they also take dividends. Anybody would think, okay, I can probably use my salary and dividends for the income, but actually there are lenders out there that would look at it slightly differently. Some will look at an element of retained profit, net profit before and after corporation tax. So there's a lot of different elements that you can utilise and look at for self-employed, and every lender is slightly different with that and will have slightly different tweaks on what we need to look at. So absolutely get the customer's information right first, then have a look at what best fit is out there for them, because it might be that on the standard salary and dividends it doesn't quite fit for the mortgage lending that they need, you know, whereas salary and net profit, for instance, might do. So it's just knowing that there are different avenues out there for them.
So if you were self-employed and you thought, oh, I can't get a mortgage, would that be completely wrong? Would you say have hope for all those people who are self-employed?
100% have hope, definitely.
Yeah.
Because even if people do come to me and it doesn't fit quite right at the moment, it's ways in which we can guide them and speak to them about moving forward with that. So definitely have hope, definitely speak to a mortgage broker about it. There's a lot of misconception that people that are self-employed can't get mortgages, but there's definitely a lot out there for them.
Oh, that's really good to know. I also wanted to ask you about adverse credit. I mean, first of all, what is meant by adverse credit?
So adverse credit can be anything from missed payments through to debt management plans, IVAs, CCJs, bankruptcy. So it can be a whole range of things as well, but anything that's where there's clients had a slight mishap on their credit file.
Okay, because I would think, oh, well, I'm not going to be able to get a mortgage if I was in that situation, but I expect you're going to tell me that's wrong.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, again, it comes down to the individual's circumstances, and it might be that it's not quite right at this moment in time for the client, but there is an option going forward, and that broker should be able to guide you through to that option if that option isn't available straight away. But yes, so many people come to me and they say, you know, I was bankrupt X amount of years ago, or I've been bankrupt in the past, I don't think I can get a mortgage. Well, actually, they can. There are options out there for them.
And is there anything they can do in the build up to, you know, coming to see you or, you know, taking out their mortgage to sort of improve their prospects?
Definitely. I mean, have a look at keeping an eye on your copy of your credit file. Lots of clients don't understand credit files. Speak to somebody if you're not sure about it, because it's not something that you do every day. So, you know, it's my job to know what that looks like and how to look through a credit file. But for, you know, the everyday person, they might not know that. So definitely getting an understanding of that, understanding what your credit file looks like can really help to plan moving forward. But things like bank statements, pay slips, understanding those as well. Certain elements of what's put on the bank statements can obviously have an impact, and also other elements that might come into that. If they do lottery quite regularly, some people don't realise that that can be a negative to some lenders, not all lenders, depending on what the volume of that is, but it's about preparing yourself in that way. And I think the best thing they can do is obviously speak to a broker, because the broker will have that knowledge to be able to guide them and sort of say, this is the things that you could look at.
And are specialist mortgages, or people who take them out, and the mortgages that are on offer to them, are they a bit more expensive generally? Do you find the rates are a bit higher?
They can be, yes. You know, depending again on the individual circumstances, because some people that have had adverse credit in the past can fit with the, you know, your standard high street lenders. There are high street lenders out there that do accommodate for it. But yes, you know, you can find that, and really your broker should be taking you on a journey. It shouldn't be just about that first initial mortgage. It should be about the mortgages going forward as well for you. So it should be a case of, right, this is where you fit at the moment due to your adverse credit, but if we do X, Y, Z in so many years' time, we can look to remortgage you and hopefully get you back to a high street mortgage.
So if you use a broker for your mortgage, and you'll remain in contact with them, will you? And you would, so you, for example, would keep in touch with your clients, would you, and, you know, remind them when it's coming up to remortgage, things like that?
Yeah, I definitely would. For me, it's about the whole journey for the client. It's not just about that one mortgage. You know, definitely try and get that relationship with your mortgage broker. If you don't feel confident that that relationship would be there, I'd suggest look for another one, because it really should be about that full journey. Even with clients that are high street clients of mine, it is about that journey. It's about knowing what that client wants of their next steps and understanding what that next step looks like to get them in the best situation until that mortgage is fully paid off, because that's the end goal, isn't it? Let's be honest, we want to own our houses before we retire. So how do we get there? And that's what the whole plan it should be about. It should never just be about that first initial one. It's important to get that right, obviously, for the client, and it might not necessarily be, if people have got adverse credit, the sort of end goal, but it's about getting that right for that property for them, but then going on to for the rest of the path as well to get to the end of that mortgage being paid. So
I'd like to ask a question from one of our readers, if that's okay.
Yeah,
it's a self-employed question. It's from Emma, who lives in Devon. And she said, I'm self-employed. What do I need to show my mortgage lender to prove my income? And what other documents do I need?
Okay, so great question. It really depends on how she is self-employed. So if she's a sole trader, the accountant should provide, if she's got an accountant or if she does them herself, should provide or be available to her tax calculations and overviews are what most of the lenders will go by. If she's a limited company, then some of them will take company accounts as well. Generally, most lenders will ask for 2 to 3 years. There are some lenders, however, out there though that will look at just 1 year of accounts as well. So again, that's another bit of misconception with self-employed. They don't always realise that they can have just 1 year of accounts to be able to get a mortgage, which is good. If she's a contract worker and self-employed, that can be a little bit different as well. Some lenders will ask for the contract, maybe a bit of a track record of contracts as well. So it really does depend on how she is self-employed as to the income. But again, speak to a broker, explain how you are self-employed, whether it is sole trader, limited company, contract. They'll be able to tell you and give you the advice of exactly what you need income-wise. Other documents, some sort of verification for yourself as a person and the address that you live at. And then bank statements are generally what the lenders will look for. Again, the only other thing is if limited company, they could ask for limited company bank statements as well.
He used to get lots of documents ready then, doesn't he?
Unfortunately, but yeah, absolutely. It did sound like quite a lot,
Yeah.
but absolutely, it really does depend on her individual circumstances. So, and they would be obviously a bit more limited than what we've just listed, but a bit less.
And a lot of this is online now anyway, isn't it? A lot of people have got digital kind of, bank statements and things. So.
Yeah, so easy to access now with internet banking and things. There's not many banks that don't allow you to download a bank statement off of your app if you've got it and things like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, and usually if people have got accountants in place, most brokers would be happy for the accountants to send them the tax calculations and overviews and accounts. If they wanted, they wanted the accountant to do it direct, it would just be obviously gaining permission from the client to obtain that. That's all.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant. And before we go, one quick question for you. We always ask this to our guests. Do you have a top financial tip for those watching at the moment?
Ooh, okay, so definitely my top tip would be to speak to a broker. Absolutely. I think whatever the market is a very tricky market at the moment. And I just think that if you speak to a broker, you're getting the best advice that you possibly can get to obtain the best option for you in the market. Other things, obviously credit report, bank statements, keep on top of those. One thing with bank statements that we do tend to see a lot is how people send money to each other and what they label that as. So sometimes that can be very interesting. We can see some things on that lenders pick up on a little bit. So just think about how you list what you send to your friends, and how you label it. But yeah, other than that, definitely speak to a broker would be my advice.
Yeah, great advice. Thank you. Sarah, thank you so much for joining us today.
That's all right. Thanks for having me.